Niagara Falls, the largest set of waterfalls in North America. Its beauty is mesmerizing, its power awe-inspiring. But on this day, it's the force of men, not nature, that's the biggest miracle of all. An unbelievable rescue mission to save one man who has crept dangerously close to the edge of the falls. The call comes in on March 19, 2003, 5:08 p.m. Sergeant Pat Moriarty is on duty. He's a 19-year veteran of the Niagara Falls State Parks Police.
Our radio man yelled down the hall, Sarge. He said, I just got a call from the Canadians. There's a man on the ice at Terrapin Point.
Not a safe place to be. Terrapin Point is a piece of land that sits as close to the falls as you can get.
The drop from that point at Terrapin Point is over 180 feet straight down. If you go over in that particular spot, you're not going to survive.
When Moriarty arrives on the scene, it's even worse than he expected. The man is not on the icy formation, on land. He's waist deep in frigid water.
When I saw the victim standing almost in waist-deep water right at the brink of the falls, the hair on the back of my neck went up.
Moriarty immediately calls the fire department and the helicopter rescue unit. He also calls the power company upriver and asks them to use their dam to lower the water level. Within minutes, Niagara firefighter Gary Corella arrives on the scene.
Where the victim was standing is almost impossible to fathom. It is one of the most dangerous positions that a person could put themselves in. If I was a betting man, I would bet 99.9 times out of 100 that no one could stand that close to the falls.
Corella, Moriarty, and the rest of the rescue team meet to come up with a plan. They know there isn't much time. Darkness is setting in, and it's only getting colder.
Our training and experience tells us that we only have slight minutes to get him out of that position, or he may go into shock or even cardiac arrest due to hypothermia.
The decision is made to lower Corella and Moriarty into the water. These two men, who'd met only in passing before, know they'll need to trust each other.
We shook hands, but we looked at each other in the eye. I think we understood that I'm there to save your life and you're there to save mine.
As they're lowered into the water, they both have two ropes attached to their harnesses. One ties them to a small shrub on the shore, and the other is controlled by about 20 rescuers. They will use all of their strength to keep those men from getting swept over the falls.
The water going at such a rate and then dropping at such a distance creates this tremendous thunder. You actually feel like you're in a small earthquake, and it's just an unsettling feeling.
Looking down from the shoreline when we first hit the water, I pulled on Gary's arm and I pointed down, directly downriver from us at the brink of the falls along the shoreline. The water had undercut the ice. I said to Gary, I said, if we lose our footing, we'll end up under the ice, under the water. And that was the last thing I wanted to have happen.
Moriarty can't know it yet, but he would soon face his greatest fear. But for now, they inch out into the raging waters, hoping to get the man a life ring. On shore, a rescue worker finds a suicide note from the man now fighting fiercely for his life. But Corella and Moriarty know nothing about the note, and they're able to make contact with the victim.
We wanted to reassure him, tell him that we're coming to get you, that we're here for you.
He was able to yell loud enough that I can't stand here much longer. I'm cold, and he said that he's getting weaker.
Corella and Moriarty can't stand there much longer either.
You could feel our feet being, pulled from under us. And we looked at each other and I said, this is going to have to be a no-go. So Plan B kicked in at that time.
And fortunately, Plan B arrives from the air. Captain Kevin Caffery and co-pilot Art Litzinger hover above, trying to get a rescue basket close enough for the man to grasp.
We made 4 or 5 attempts to get him with the rescue basket. We got pretty close to him. Problem is, with the treacherous air currents, it was almost impossible to control the aircraft. At some point he said, I'm running out of power, we're not going to be able to do this.
Another failed attempt. The chopper returns to land so the team can come up with Plan C. And in the water, Corella and Moriarty know time is not on their side.
At this time now, it's starting to get dark. Gary and I were getting colder in the water because we've been in there for a while. I know my hands were getting numb, and I was getting concerned that if we did get close enough to the victim, am I going to be able to grab onto him and hold him? Our victim, who was soaking wet at this time, is telling us that he can't last much longer. And what we originally thought he'd only last for a few minutes, now he's been in there over an hour. I'm very, very concerned that we've run out of time.
The life ring they've been tossing is repeatedly washed back to them by the strong currents. But co-pilot Art Litzinger suggests they get that life ring to the victim from the air.
We're going to have to get fairly close and actually try to toss this ring out to somewhere where he could get a hold of it. I knew our biggest problem was the rotor wash from the aircraft itself, the wind and I was afraid we were going to knock him over.
But they're willing to give it a shot.
Well, we're probably only about a foot or two off the water, and we tried to get in close. I was trying to get our side of the aircraft in close to him so he could throw the gentleman the ring. And as soon as we got that rotor wash next to him, we could see the guy starting to stumble. Well, I was looking right at him, and he got a little disoriented, and then he got wobbly, and then he fell.
Seeing his head go under, I cringed and closed my eyes a little bit and said a little prayer and said, "Oh boy, he's gone."
Can rescuers get to the man in time?
The danger level increased 100%.
What was a difficult rescue is about to get even tougher.
His legs went right over the brink.
When caught on camera, sinister, strange, shocking returns. It's March 19th, 2003. Rescuers have been trying for more than an hour to save a man from falling nearly 180 feet over the edge of Niagara Falls to his death. From the air, rescuers are attempting to toss him a life ring, but suddenly the man slips, and they fear they've lost him for good.
When he first fell, he grabbed onto the rocks, and then within a few seconds he slid back probably another 2 or 3 feet, and at that point his legs actually went over the brink.
But against all odds, the man is able to pull himself up on a rock.
And then there's just jubilation. He stands up, and it's miraculous. It's an unbelievable experience to see somebody, just the sheer will and drive of that person to not go over and just stand up.
He's up, but it's not time to celebrate yet. The man's footing is still unstable. Co-pilot Art Litzinger knows he has precious seconds to act, and only he can save the man now. But spray is pelting him in the face, and so blindly, he tosses the life ring into the teeth of a swirling wind.
Fortunately, it got pretty close to him, and the current took it right across in front of his face, about 2 foot in front of him.
Now it's do or die for the man who has held on for so long.
He got it. He actually had to let go of what he was holding on to get the ring. It was about a foot or two in front of him. So he let go and he grabbed the ring. We did see that his legs went right over the brink.
On shore, rescuers start pulling the rope, plucking the man from certain death.
I can't describe the feeling of, for 30 seconds anyway, of feeling this relief that he finally has it. We have him close. We have something connected to him. He's not on his own anymore. And we start to bring him in.
As Corella and Moriarty watch their peers pull the guy to shore, the feeling of relief is short-lived. If standing feet from the edge of Niagara Falls isn't dangerous enough, almost unbelievably, the stakes are about to go up even higher. The man slips under that menacing ice shelf, the very thing Moriarty feared most.
Upon being dragged underneath the ice floe, the danger level increased 100%. He now is on a rope that is unable to be pulled back because he goes underneath the ice. He's also being dragged by a current that is unbelievable because now it's pressurized. It's formed underneath the ice. He's almost like a water skier in a current being, he's just straight out.
Now it's critical. So I looked at Gary and I said, "We got to go. That's it. We got to go. We got to go get him."
Rescuers on top of the ice cautiously give Corella and Moriarty the rope they need to reach the man, who is still holding on to that life ring just a few feet from the edge of the falls.
When we first got up to him, the water was literally running completely over his face. I could see his eye. He was looking up at me underwater, looking at me. It was surreal.
I never will forget this as long as I live because his arm was outstretched. He's almost losing the ring. Pat reaches under and grabs the only thing he could, the fingers that are out of the water. And he had him just by the 4 fingers and holding him.
I pulled as hard as I could. I was able to get his face out of the water so he could breathe.
He could breathe and talk.
He just told us, let me go. He just gave up. He said, save yourselves, let me go, let me go. We more or less had some choice words for him and told him that we didn't come this far to let you go now, that all of us are going up. You've got to help us.
Corella manages to get underneath the victim and is able to slip a harness around his body. Once the harness is on, he wraps his arms and legs around the man and braces himself.
Pat yelled for them to pull, and I tell you what, it was the quickest I ever thought I would go up an embankment, but it must have been the adrenaline on top, because we slid out of there in a matter of seconds.
And minutes later, Sergeant Moriarty is pulled to safety too. It's a chaotic scene, but now, both on solid ground, the two men who just risked their lives to save another search for each other in the crowd.
We shook hands, and it was just an understanding that the only people that do this can understand the feeling of gratitude, pride in the job we had just done. It's just like, I can't believe we just did that.
Every time I see Pat, I get that little smile and that feeling inside, and I think back to that day, and I know he'll be a friend for life.